Welcome to another week of The Animal Black Woman. This is my third time trying to record, so I am not going to speak too long, because when I do, my tongue does something crazy. Anyways, we're going to jump into it. I'm super excited to be interviewing Shabree this week. She was someone that I saw on IG. Someone had filmed her on their TikTok protesting on the corner by herself, dancing her butt off and getting it. When I say getting, I mean getting it. If y'all ain't seen the video, y'all need to see her video of her dancing. I will put it on my story. I'll see if I can put it on my page. It's just beautiful sight. She's all that and a bag of chips. I haven't said that in like 5 years, but it feels like it fits. So I'm not going to hold us. Let's just jump right into the interview and check it out. What is your name?
My name is Shabree Robinson.
Shabree, where are you from?
I'm from Austin, Texas.
Okay. What was it like for you growing up in Austin?
It was fun. I really liked the high school that I went to, very culturally diverse. I love the city. I love the community. It was just a fun place to grow up. I don't really have any memories that stand out.
That's fine. Not every...
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, that'll work. I go for fun. Not everyone's is fun, which is fine.
Right. Yeah, I had a great childhood.
So it'll work.
Yeah.
All good. So I saw you at first through the video of you protesting by yourself, beautifully dancing. Oh my gosh, while holding a sign. I just love it. So I have to ask you, like, how did that for you even come up? How did this even come to be?
I was actually inspired by this guy on the internet. It was just one lone white guy in his community holding up a Black Lives Matter sign. And of course, people came up to him and were giving him all kinds of trouble. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is an amazing idea. Like the impact that it's having, it's making people so mad. Like I loved everything about it. But of course, I had to put my own spin on it because I like to dance. And also, I'm just kind of bored if I'm outside holding up a sign. So I was like, why not? People are going to pay attention. I like to dance. It'll get the message out one way or another. What has
been people's reaction to you before it became something where people saw it online?
The reactions have been pretty much consistent since before and after the online thing. People have been mostly positive. I get people that would bring me water and snacks, and people have brought me gifts. People like to honk and wave and smile, and it's just fun to see, like, at a light when everyone's just kind of sitting in traffic and then they look over and like, what's going on? And they're like, oh, whoa, that's so cool. So I like seeing people's faces light up. That's been the main response. Some people have been not so nice, but they're few and far between.
I feel like not everyone would be so bold to, one, be by themselves doing that, and two, to be doing that by themselves and dancing. Like, what do you feel gives you the oomph or just the, like, security and doing something like that?
Well, that's a common misconception, is that I'm by myself. My husband is usually somewhere nearby. It actually started out with the both of us protesting at the same street corner or at the same intersection. So I would be on one side just because I like the sunlight and the traffic on that side, and he would be on another because he likes the shade. He's white, so he burns in the sun. And he's not about to be out there in the sun burning up. So he has his little lawn chair and he has his own sign on the other side of the street. That day that I was being recorded, I actually was by myself. My husband wasn't in town. But when it first started, we go out there together. Now it's kind of evolved to where he's moved on to a different corner. And so I kind of start my day at one corner and then I end up with him at the end of the day.
So was it always like you two saying we want to do something, but what is it going to be?
Yeah. He was really the one that pushed me to go out there because I was like, wow, I really like that video. That guy was so cool. And then like the next week, I wake up in the morning and he's making our signs and he's like, oh yeah, we're going out today. We're going out. And I was like, oh, okay, perfect. So that's just how it happened.
I love it. How long have you been doing it?
I would say since maybe like early May.
Early May. So how did you two meet, you and your husband?
We met in South Carolina, of all places, in pharmacy school. We're both pharmacists. So,
Oh, I
yeah,
love that.
contrary to all the people that love to think that we don't have jobs, we have doctorate degrees.
So I can't even lie to you. I have a bad habit of reading what I call the devil's playground. And that is the comments under like posts and stuff like that.
Oh,
So
me too.
it's the worst. It's the devil's playground.
It
It's
really is.
awful. It's the worst because people are trash. People are absolute
Yep.
trash in the comments. So I was reading and I did see people make comments like that, but I also saw you go, actually, no, you're wrong. I was
Yeah.
like, okay, I see you playing in the devil's playground. Be
I
careful.
do. I do. I dabble for a little bit.
You
It's
dabble a little
fun.
bit. Ugh, you gotta be careful though, because what I've learned is like, though, like, I mean, and I'm just talking about from my own experience. Look, you do
Right.
what you want to do. I'm saying I have learned for me that they ain't got no stop.
Right.
They have no stop and no sense. I was
You
like,
know, honestly, with those comments though, no one ever really says anything back.
mm.
Like I haven't been anyone be like, no, no, you're not. You don't have a job. They're just kind of like, oh, okay. Didn't really know she was gonna pop up, and then just leave me alone.
You thought you were gonna go, right?
Came ready for the action, but I really haven't gotten much because I have receipts. So it
Hello.
is.
So, for you, was there a moment in your life where you realized that you were a Black woman?
That moment happened very early. I mean, just as kids, I would get strange questions about my hair or like, just not even not even mean or rude questions, just like, why does your hair look like that? Why do you have those little baubles and beads and stuff in your hair? Like, or just why is your hair that texture? Or, you're a lot darker than me, or you're not the same color as your parents. Like it's a whole, just little kids making observations, and you're like, wow, I guess I do have different hair from you. I guess I do look a certain way. But I didn't really grow up with a lot of negative experiences towards my blackness, until I would say maybe until like middle school or high school, where I would get told, oh, I don't really like black girls. I don't talk to black girls, that kind of thing. Yeah, but like as a child, I was made aware that I was a black person, but it wasn't in a negative way until I got a lot older.
How do you feel like over the years you felt about being a Black female? Like, what has been your perspective of yourself?
It's been really interesting because of the environment that I've always been a part of, starting with like high school, middle school too, always being in advanced classes, gifted and talented, AP, and that kind of thing, where I was usually the only Black person in that space, or one of very few Black people in that space in academia. And it's just really weird to have to put on a certain appearance so that you make other people comfortable, so that you appear to represent your race properly. I've always kind of felt that pressure that you have to be twice as good to get half of what they have. But you also can't be too loud. You can't be too opinionated, or else the S word comes out. You're sassy, you know. But it's just always been this constant struggle of, how do I represent myself accurately, but also how do I not shed a negative light on my race, my demographic whatsoever, because a lot of people's perceptions of Black women as a whole have been shaped by me. And I mean, I've been told that by some people that I've thought were friends or, colleagues, that the interactions that they have with me have shaped how they feel about Black people. Luckily, that's positively, but it's just weird to know that you as an individual person are the spokesperson for every other Black woman that these people will meet.
What do you think, if you were talking to someone white, right, about your experience as a Black woman, and like, for instance, your friends, right, who have said that you have shaped how they have thought about Black people.
Yeah.
If you could tell them without any, and I don't know, maybe you're the type of person where you don't care if there's consequences, but if you could tell them raw and real about that thought, that me solely is going to shape what you think about Black people, what would you tell them?
I guess I would say I am kind of that person that doesn't really care. I've had these conversations before, and I think it all kind of ties back into what I'm doing with protesting, because I tell people, just because you think of me as some way, that doesn't at all mean that the next Black woman you meet is going to be exactly the same. And that's kind of the reason why I like to protest the way that I do, because I think a lot of people have the perception that, oh, well, of course, Black lives matter. But I mean, not if she's ghetto, not if he's a thug, not if she dresses a certain way. And so I want people to see that I can be a whole bunch of different things. I can be, classy. I can be a scholar. I can be a professional, but I can also be whoever I want to be when I'm dancing on the corner and wearing crop tops, and it doesn't affect whether or not my life matters. And that's what I try to portray to a lot of my friends that are not Black, is that, just because you see me as one type of way, A, doesn't mean that you're correct. And B, even if you are correct, that has no bearing on the next person you meet and whether or not their life matters.
That's good. That's powerful. So what is it like to be in an interracial relationship? What has that been like?
Well, it's really, it's not as dramatic as it sounds. There are some cultural references that are like, whew, I have to do a lot of educating. I guess I would say we have to educate each other on a lot. But it's fun. For the most part, we just have little fun communication blunders that it's like, what does that phrase mean? Like my husband, like he absolutely hates when he comes from outside. I'm like, nah, you smell like outside. And he's like, what does that mean? Like, where does that come from? I've never heard that phrase. Like, describe that smell to me. And I'm like, I can't. Just know that you smell like outside and you got to do something about it. So, just funny things like that. Like we love to jab each other back and forth, but we haven't experienced anything negative really in our interracial relationship. Like our families integrated perfectly. We all love each other. Our friends, we all have the same friends. We've never gotten any negative comments. I was in an interracial relationship previously that we did experience some prejudices and some interesting moments, but it's been all sunshine and smiles.
That's good. I will say, so I was watching this one couple, and the woman's Black, the man is white, and she talked about how being a Black woman dating a white man, it let her into insight. Like she saw firsthandedly like how sometimes people would treat him compared to her.
Yeah.
Because you're a part of it, or even how through him she had access in some areas that she knew beforehand that wouldn't have happened like that. So, and I thought that was very interesting. So I want to ask you if your own relationship examples, and have you seen that, and what's that like?
Something that I always find interesting when you mention about having access to certain areas, I feel like my husband, he hasn't necessarily opened up those avenues for me, but a lot of people assume that I get to do the things that I get to do because I have a white husband.
Ooh.
When in fact, I mean, we're both pretty well off. We have good careers. These are opportunities that I provide for myself that he happens to be along with me for the ride, but I get that assumption a lot. What were you saying though about the girl, like, ask me that question again.
So for instance, she would, a simple thing, she would go to a bar, right? And they were meeting up with people, and she would get there before him. And in some incidents, she would see that people would be uncomfortable with just her. And then whenever he got there, it's like, it's like they would relax. It's like when they were around her solely as a Black woman, there was an uncomfortability that whenever he was there, it provide, they were more comfortable, or
Yeah,
even, yeah.
I identify with that actually, because just in certain social situations in my life where I've been unapologetically black, around a whole bunch of white people, I've had the reception of, oh, this is really funny, like this is so entertaining, oh, a black person, that's so cool. Or I've had the reaction like, oh wow, she's really extra, this is like a culture shock for me. But somehow when my husband is in the picture in similar social situations, it's like I'm way more palatable, like I'm being exactly the same person, but I feel like people are a lot more receptive to it for some reason. They're not as intimidated by it for some reason.
You know what? That's such a commentary on, like, when people say to someone white, like, you should speak out because people will
Yeah,
really listen to you that look like you. Not to say that I'm not saying what's correct, but there are these things that happen below the surface that are constantly going on that you will have access to those people that I won't because of that. I mean,
exactly.
the thing underneath the surface is racism, bias, prejudices. I
Right.
mean, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
on
interesting.
a on a separate kind of related note about being in an interracial relationship, I will say once all of this happened with George Floyd and the real rise of the Black Lives Matter movement in the streets, as a black woman dating a white man, I know my husband very well. Like, I don't feel like I'm ever going to get surprised by him. But just as a black woman, you always have that voice in the back of your head, like, is a white person going to disappoint me today? Because it's happened so many times. I've put my faith in white people so many times, and somebody manages to disappoint me. And so for a split second, I was like, how are we going to tackle this as an interracial couple? Is he going to be as equally passionate about all of this as I am? I wanted to go out in the streets. Is he going to want to do that? I wanted to donate money to the cause. Was he going to think that it was a worthy thing to do? For a split second, I did have that whoa, what if moment. Like, what am I prepared to do if he's not as invested in this movement as I am? Luckily, I mean, it wasn't an issue at all. He was 100% behind me with everything I wanted to do. He was my biggest cheerleader, and he's out there protesting more often than I am, actually, because he has more spare time than I do. But yeah, I did have that moment for sure as a black woman. Like, am I going to get surprised? Because I read things on the internet about people being married and finding out the other one voted for Trump, and it's like, how did you not know that person had that in them before you got married? But
What's
of
your
course,
theory?
you know, I don't know. I don't know how people end up in these relationships without knowing their partner's stance on these things. I've talked to a lot of friends and family that have been in this situation, and I personally can't imagine it. Like, I'm so passionate about the things that affect at least me, and to a bigger sense, just America politically. I'm just very, politically invested, that I just can't imagine not sitting down with a person and hashing those things out. And I think, especially as a black woman that is dating interracially, that's kind of one of the first things that you need to put out there. For me personally, I'm just not going to continue it further if I don't think that we're on the same page. Because again, like I said in the past, I've had friends that I'd known for such a long time, and then it comes out that they're huge Trump supporters, or, that they don't agree with Black Lives Matter, or they have all these contingencies about it. And it's just like, where did that come from? So, and as far as a relationship, I think any black woman period needs to just have that conversation with whoever they're with. Yeah, just like I was saying, as a black woman, I think you always need to have that conversation, because even other black people can surprise you in ways. Black men or other black women, they just have views that you're like, wow, I thought we would all be on the same page, but we're not.
No,
So
that's real. That's real. That's fact. Okay, what do I want? Okay, give me 3 words that you would use to describe yourself.
Passionate, indulgent, and silly.
I've never heard indulgent.
Yeah. I spoil myself a lot. I'm very spoiled.
Okay. Have you been an indulgent person your whole life, or is this something you've grown into?
Um, I would say my whole life. I did have a pretty spoiled upbringing. I wasn't an only child, but I was the youngest child, so I got treated like the baby, and my mom just wanted us to have the best of everything. So naturally, that's just who I became to be. I like staying at the best hotels, eating the best food, looking the best wherever I go. That's a product of my mother. I always have to look put together whenever I leave the house. Like sweatpants are a no-go for me.
What is something that you will take from your parents, or let's say your mother, that you will definitely bring to your children? And what's something that you won't take from your parents to your children?
Ooh, that's a good question. That's interesting that you asked that because I was just thinking about that yesterday as I was making breakfast randomly. The thing that I wouldn't take from my mother, I love her very much, and she's always placed some of her value of herself into my success. And sometimes that seems, it translates into her valuing me like an object sometimes. If if that so let me start over. I guess I would say she placed a lot of her hopes and her dreams in me, which is what parents do to a lot of their children. But sometimes I feel as if the success that I have, that she's not only happy for me because she loves me and she's her daughter, but she likes the way that it reflects upon her. You know what I'm saying? So I'm looked at sometimes like as an object, as a prize. Like my mom would always say, "Oh, she's my doll. I love to dress her up and always make her look nice." And now that's become a part of who I am, right? Like I always have to look decent when I go somewhere. I always have to have in earrings. Like I cannot be seen without earrings. That's my number one accessory. I got my ears pierced when I was like 3 months old. So like I put a lot into my appearance, and that's one thing that I got from my mother because that's just how she liked me to be portrayed, is like always put together like a nice doll. I wouldn't do that to my daughters necessarily, or my children. Kind of let them decide how they want to be for the day and let them know that it's okay to be a little comfortable, I guess I would say. But the thing that I would take from my mother, I like the fact that she expected success out of me beyond what she achieved in life.
Mm.
Like, I like that she set the expectation that, yes, I only graduated high school, but you're going to go to college. You're going to be a doctor or a lawyer or whatever you want to be, but you're going to be successful at whatever you do. You're going to be better than I was. So I hope that for my children.
What is something you learned about yourself in the past 365 days?
Well, I learned that I can just dance my heart out in front of a crowd of strangers that can't even hear the music that I'm dancing to and have a perfectly good time. Like I've always loved to dance. I go out with my friends dancing all the time, but I never would have thought that I would have been protesting like this. This was never originally my plan. I just was going out there saving myself from boredom, and the music kind of took over. But I didn't originally plan to just be dancing in front of strangers, scantily clad at traffic lights. But it's fun. And I found out that it is my preferred way of exercise. Sadly, it's getting kind of cold, but Yeah, if it were just summer or spring forever, I would go out there every day and hold up a sign for a good cause and just get a good workout in. It's my favorite thing to do. I don't really want to go back to the gym.
Hey, that ain't a bad thing. What is it that you listen to in those headphones?
It's a good mix of things. Right now, I really love Don Tolliver. I'm blaring him. Just rap in general, Travis Scott. And interestingly enough, K-pop. I love K-pop.
Don Tolliver, Travis Scott, and some K-pop.
Yeah, pretty much.
I love it. Okay, last question. If you had the attention of the entire world, what would you say?
I mean, that one's obvious. Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter, no matter how you feel that they should matter. They don't have to be the model minority. They don't have to be perfect. They could have a record. They could have a couple of illegitimate children. It doesn't matter who the person is behind that black life matters. They could be a doctor. They could be a janitor. You don't get to decide how your perception of a person determines whether or not their life matters. It just does. Full stop. And we're done explaining the fact that not only Black Lives Matter. Everybody knows that at this point. So if you have an all lives matter coming out of your mouth, don't even fix your mouth to say it. It's done. Black Lives Matter is a full and complete sentence, and it is a fact. And that's it.
Okay, so tell me this one thing that you wanted to say.
So a lot of people like to ask me what I aim to achieve by protesting the way that I do. And I love to tell them that I'm really not out there to change anybody's minds. A lot of people think that I'm protesting to try to convince people that Black Lives Matter. Right now, I'm at the point where I don't care if they think that they matter or if they don't. It's a fact. So what I'm out there to do is aggressively showcase my Blackness and how proud I am to be Black and to be a Black woman. And I'm just having fun out there pissing off racists. It really is that simple. It's that simple. So I don't care if you walk away from it not thinking that Black Lives Matter and still thinking that all lives matter. It doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, you gave me space in your head. You gave me time in your thoughts. You went home and complained to your husband or wife about that girl on the corner dancing aggressively, looking the way that she does and holding up that sign. And you sparked a conversation in your own house. And that's all I wanted at the end of the day.
And so you achieved and won.
And that's on Black Girl Magic.
Hey! I love that. She's such a doll. If you haven't seen her do her protest, dance online, I'm going to put like a video, like I set up on either my story or on my page. If you haven't, go check out the page. The page is the IBW. That is my tag at Instagram, of course. If you want to be interviewed or you have any thoughts, questions, suggestions, you can email me at info@theibw.com. Go follow Shabree. Her Instagram name is Bree_bout_it, because she is about it. Hello. That will also be in the description below in the podcast. And if you don't follow us on the Instagram. Follow me on iTunes, SoundCloud, Spotify, wherever you're listening to this. If you're listening to this on Instagram, that wouldn't make sense because I am recording. See, this is why I've done it 4 times. I'm going to push through. I'm not going to stop. Like I was saying, please subscribe, follow, rate, review, questions, anything. Come on with it. I want to hear it. Shabree, thank you so much for this interview. She was absolutely amazing, and she brings up so many good points that a lot of times for us we understand, but just like re-clarifying for anyone listening. And as always, have an amazing, beautiful week. And if it's your first time here, there is more interviews just like this. Go check them out. Share. And yeah, I'm not recording this again. This is going to be it. Love y'all. See you later. Bye.